Welcome back to the AIM Technologies Bikesports Championship. The latest encounter sees us here at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport, and marks the halfway stage of the season. Now coming into the round, we've got Lee Torrey, who tops the Class A Championship. However, Joe Stables is the man to watch. He's won 4 on the bounce, he's put it on pole position here. I wouldn't put it past him to make it 5. And as you can see behind me, we've got a huge grid, over 20 cars, over 20 Bikesports specials. This should be something else. Here's Andy McEwen with Race 1.
Thank you very much, Anthony. The cars coming towards the rolling start, and here is how they lined up, with Joe Stables and Lee Torrey on row 1 ahead of Phil Cooper and Chris Preen, then Richard Stables and Adrian Reynard making up the 3rd row ahead of Doug Carter and Joe Locke. As Anthony said, a 22 car grid, 2 classes of cars, classes A and B, and we'll try and keep you up to date with what's going on in both of those classes as the race goes on. But at the front of the field, Joe Stables, the leading Class B car, Lee Torrey, the leading Class A car. So as you can see, both classes capable of competing for the race victories. The red lights are on. It's a 2x2 rolling start here for the AIM Technologies Bikesports Championship at Silverstone. The lights go out, away we go, and the rush down towards Abbey Corner begins. On the inside line is Lee Torrey, on the outside is Joe Stables, and Torrey it is who will lead into the first corner. Pole position here at Silverstone is on the outside line, because when it's a standing start, that is the grippier side of the road, being the traditional racing line. Of course, with the rolling start though, it's not always such an advantage. On board down towards the right hand here at Village, on the inside there, the 11 car of Adrian Reynard. We now dive off the Grand Prix loop, down into the link and out onto the Hangar Straight for the first time, and there you can see Joe Stables keen to try and get back out in front. Now these two are running in different classes, so in a way it doesn't really matter which way around these two finish. They're still both leading their class, but of course both drivers want to win the race outright if possible. Down towards Stowe they go. Good battle going on for 3rd place there. That was Phil Cooper in the red car that was in 3rd position. Phil Cooper at the wheel of his car was running very well there in the early stages. We're on board with Phil though, and he's now possibly about to lose that place to Chris Preen, who had gone alongside down into Vale, but Cooper up the inside line is able to move back ahead again. So Phil Cooper it is in the Radical PR6 that holds on to 3rd place ahead of Chris Preen in 4th. Chris Preen and Phil Cooper are fighting for 2nd place in the Class B Championship. There are only about 15 points between them going into this round in Phil Cooper's favour, so Chris Preen could do with finding a way past here if at all possible. Down towards the right hand head they go at Village, one of the better overtaking opportunities on this fairly popular international layout at Silverstone. A lot of the drivers prefer this layout. They say that it offers more overtaking opportunities. It's a slightly longer lap than the shorter national layout that is traditionally used by many racing clubs. And the international circuit, you use more of the iconic Grand Prix circuit, including the particularly iconic run down the Hangar Straight and into Stowe Corner, which is where Joe Stables makes his move for the race lead and goes up the inside to take the lead away from Lee Torrey. That was a really well judged move. He was right in the slipstream, got up the inside. He was a fraction later on the brakes. Lee Torrey tries to come back at him into Vale, but can't quite do it. So Joe Stables, who, as Anthony said, has won 4 of the 5 races so far this year in Class B, and he is still leading Class B now, but of course the 2 cars immediately behind him are his 2 nearest rivals. Phil Cooper, the only other man to have won a race in Class B this year. He won the first race of the season back at Alton Park, where he also scored an overall race victory. Indeed, it's been Class B cars who have won every race so far this year in the AIM Technologies Bikesports Championship. And with Joe Stables now back into the race lead, that looks to be a trend that's going to continue, because he's dropping Lee Torrey now, who is in danger of falling into the clutches of those 2 Class B cars behind. Back down the straight they go. Lee Torrey in the SR3, the RSX version of the SR3. So too is Chris Preen, running in 4th position. Slightly wider car, a bit more aerodynamics, but that maybe hurts them a bit in a straight line, and that possibly is why Joe Stables in his traditional SR3 was able to make a move up the inside down the Hangar Straight. But you can see through Stowe and into Vale, the lead gap starting to come back down again. Now this is the battle between the Gulf-coloured car, number 11, of Adrian Reynard, and the blue and orange behind of Doug Carter. These are 2 veterans of the series. They're both running pretty well here in this one, up inside the top 10, having qualified 6th and 7th respectively. They are, I think, now 8th and 9th respectively. Sorry, 7th and 8th respectively, excuse me. So they've both dropped a position at the start, but they're still running inside the top 10. In fairly close proximity to each other. Up towards the braking zone they go again, past the grandstands that are regularly filled for some of the headline events here at Silverstone, because it's one of the better vantage points on the circuit. And this this 750 Motor Club race meeting, though a lot of the spectators choosing to head for the spectator banking down at Vale and Club, because that is where a lot of overtaking, a lot of action happens as well. Speaking of action, I think we're about to have some action in the fight for second place, because as this man Joe Stables continues to pull away at the head of the field, the battling behind him is getting a bit more intense. We're on board with Phil Cooper now in third position in the Radical PR6 as he drops down the hill. Now this slightly smaller car, slightly lighter than some of the SR3s around him. In theory, this car is a bit better through the corners, but maybe lacks some of the outright grunt down the straights. And so you'd think, being at Silverstone, that would be a disadvantage because it's such a high-speed and wide-open circuit. But on the international layout in particular, it's quite technically demanding. You've got to carry good corner speed through the high-speed corners, and you've got to be really good on the brakes through some of the low-speed corners. So there are opportunities here for Phil Cooper to maybe have a go at taking the second place away in the race. That will not score him any championship points, extra championship points, because they're in different classes, are Lee Torrey and Phil Cooper. But it's the pride, isn't it, of getting that one step further up the overall podium. Out of the link they go, down onto the Hanger Straight underneath the circuit access bridge. See Phil Cooper with a slipstream is actually not losing all that much. In fact, if anything, he's gaining slightly on Lee Torrey down the straight this time around. So Lee Torrey is not home and dry here in this second position. He's losing touch to the race leader, but his nearest Class A rival is Richard Stables, I think I'm right in saying, in the number 95 car, the black and silver car, a bit further down the road. So his class lead is reasonably safe. Back out of Club they go again, across the start-finish line to tick off another lap, and I think that is Richard Stables that's in 5th position at the back of that group. Yes, it is the black and silver PR6, so that is the car that's second in Class A, and has a few Class B cars between himself and his nearest class rival Lee Torrey. Phil Cooper there running a bit wide at Village, and so there was almost half a chance for Chris Preen to get up the inside. These two, that I said, are battling for championship position as well as second place in the class in this race. Joe Stables, the reasonably comfortable Class B leader, on 77 points going into this weekend as opposed to 63 for Phil Cooper. But of course Joe Stables leading the class, Phil Cooper in second, so he's not going to take that many more points out of him at the moment. Into the pit lane, unfortunately, is coming the man who is equal 5th in the Class A championship points. That's Joe Locke. He's tied on 29 points with David Palmer coming into this weekend. But this looks as though a retirement that's going to blight the start of his weekend here at Silverstone, and certainly not do his championship points haul any good at all. So that's potentially our first retirement of the race, the SR3 RS of Joe Locke into the pit lane. This, though, the fight for third place and second place within Class B. Phil Cooper coming under ever more pressure, it would seem, from Chris Preen behind him. Towards Village again. This now in part of the circuit where you'd imagine that Phil Cooper would have an advantage. But we saw a lap ago that he made a bit of a mistake under braking, just trying to get a bit too much out of the brakes of that PR6. And that just cost him a bit of time. If you make a mistake out of this corner, then you're really in trouble because you're heading onto the longest straight on the circuit, one of the longest straights in British motorsport, so you do need to get a good exit out onto the Hanger Straight. You can see there that Phil Cooper is going nowhere near the inside line, so he doesn't feel the need to defend for the time being. Oops, that's a spin though, and a car off almost into the gravel trap down at Vale. Now, who might that be? I think that might possibly be Sean Peters, potentially. We'll have to find out. That looks to me, though, like it's an SR3 RSX, very much like the car of Chris Preen that we're seeing in shot there. So I think that that might be Sean Peters that's gone off down at Vale. Hopefully, though, he's A, kept the car out of the gravel trap, and B, kept it running, because it's very easy to stall these things when they spin, and restarting them is not the work of a moment. If you get it stuck in the gravel trap, then you'll need some outside assistance from the marshals to get going again. So let's wait and see what happens there. Right, back through Abbey comes some of the midfield scraps, and these are equally as exciting as the battles at the front of the field. There's James Barwell, qualified 12th position. At the head of this group, though, is Chris Bell, the white number 55 car, who started down in 18th position, so he's made some really good ground already. On his tail is Richard Hardy in the black number 33 machine. And this is a battle that's going on just outside the top 10, in fact. They're fighting for about 11th place, I believe, at this stage of the race. As they make their way back down the Hanger Straight, you can see how closely attached they are. A bit of a variety of cars here, a lot of SR3s. We've got the SR3 RSX, I believe, of Bruce Crawley in here as well. Yes, there he goes, the number 5 car. So There is good variety within the Bikesports Championship, and I tell a lie, I believe it was Andy Chittenden we're hearing that's gone off down at Vale. So Andy Chittenden in the number 48 car becomes our second retirement, and you can see there that he is requiring a live snatch. So the live snatch vehicle out there on track, yellow flags therefore, no overtaking down in towards Vale at this stage of the race, which is rather hindering the efforts of some of the leaders as they come across the back markers at the worst possible time, because you're not allowed to overtake for position under yellow flags. You're equally not allowed to overtake a back marker, and that really hurt Lee Torrey, who has somewhere along the road lost second position. Now, that looked to me as though possibly Phil Cooper went past under the yellow flags. We'll have to wait and see, but Phil Cooper has taken second place away from Lee Torrey now. Just to reiterate, that's not a class position, but Phil Cooper has moved up an extra spot on the road. There he is, the red PR6 has moved through, but there may well be a discussion about that post-race. Out of Village he goes, he's left behind the other cars though, as they got stuck behind the back marker. And so Phil Cooper benefiting out of all of that, but if any of those overtakes either on the back marker or on Lee Torrey for position were made under yellow flags, he will find himself being disqualified from the race post-race, that's for sure. This man hopefully doesn't have to worry about anything like that though. Joe Stables working his way back through Stowe Corner and has now pulled out a very, very healthy margin over the rest of the field. It's a good 4 or so seconds now over Phil Cooper in second position. This the fight for third. Lee Torrey has got Chris Preen and the ever-closing Richard Stables now on his tail. Richard Stables in 5th position, of course chasing after Lee Torrey for the class victory, so that could be a rather tasty battle if they ever get themselves together. There's just one car between them at the moment, and Richard Stables is 20 points behind Lee Torrey at the top of the Class A table in points, so this is quite a significant battle actually. If they do get themselves together, then this man here, Richard Stables, could do with getting past Lee Torrey and taking a few championship points out of him. You get 16 points for a race victory, just the 13 for a second place finish, so it's well worth going for it and trying to get those all-important championship points. Down the back straight they go, and you can see here Chris Preen is in the tow of Lee Torrey, who's also tried to get a slipstream from the number 49 car of Duncan Keith, who is a lap down. Duncan Keith in his radical PR6 goes a lap down to the leaders, and at the same time became a rather handy tool for Lee Torrey to use a bit of a slipstream there, give him a bit of an aerodynamic advantage down the straight. Torrey in the RSX, we've said that maybe that car's not quite as quick in a straight line as some of those around it, so when it lacks in straight line speed, it more than makes up for around the corners, of course, but you are vulnerable to attack if you're a bit down on top speed, because most of the overtaking opportunities on any circuit come at the end of a straight. Oh, and Lee Torrey gets caught up with the back marker. Oh no, that was Sean Peters, and he spins. So Lee Torrey throws away the third place position and the class lead, most importantly, because through will go Richard Stables, but he went up the inside of the back marker there. That was Sean Peters, and Sean Peters, well, that was strange. I just think Lee Torrey was a bit too far back to make the move, maybe underestimated the speed with which Sean Peters was going to enter the corner, had to back out of it, and once he did that, he lost the rear of the car and spun around, and Lee Torrey loses the lead of the class. Well, here is some of the battling going on further back. There's number 21 machine going through. That's Charles Adrian. He's got a lap down to the race leaders now as we tick through into the second half of the race now. That is number 11 machine of Adrian Reynard, who has now been overtaken by Doug Carter, I notice, and instead has the attentions of Bill Henderson to deal with, and also not far behind him, the number 9 car of John Gilman, who's shot up the order from 15th on the grid. So quite a bit of movement going on here towards the back end of the top 10, but Doug Carter gains another position. That's 6th position now, by my reckoning. There is the black machine of Richard Gilman in his SR3, working his way through now, starting to challenge the number 7 machine of Bill Henderson. In fact, goes up the inside of Bill Henderson into Village, but I don't think he quite was able to make that one stick. Let's see if we get another shot of them coming out of the corner. Yes, it's still the red PR6 ahead of the black SR3. Working their way back down the Hanger Straight though. And is the SR3 going to be able to use its horsepower advantage maybe to close in underneath the bridge? Doesn't look like it. Those PR6s are holding their own this weekend at Silverstone, which is great to see. Phil Cooper in a PR6 running second place overall, of course, at the moment. And that moment for Lee Torrey has not only helped Richard Stables, it's also given Chris Preen an extra position as well. Lee Torrey, I believe, dropped down into 5th place as a result of the moment that he had. This could be a nice little battle though that's starting to develop here between Henderson and Gilman. These two, well, Henderson's running actually in an invitational class this weekend. His car not quite conforming to the regulations to fit into either classes A or B, but performance-wise, as you can see, it's very comparable. So they let it race, it just can't score championship points. It's running in a class of its own, is the number 7 car, but it's still out there fighting for position, and Bill Henderson still having a really good time, trying his best here to find a way past Richard Gilman. Meanwhile, Adrian Reynard has been able to latch back onto the tail of Doug Carter now. So Doug Carter, who appeared to have pulled away a little bit over the last lap or so, now the gap is coming down again, and Adrian Reynard would rather like this 6th position back, please. Gulf-coloured car turns its way through Stowe Corner, back out of it again. He just lost a bit of time through that turn. And so Carter, who's always been a committed driver, really maximises the cornering speeds of the PR6 very well, and is able to pull back away. Here, though, it doesn't look like it's quite the same story for Bill Henderson and Richard Gilman. Richard Gilman, of course, the man trying to get the place away. Doug Carter there dives up the inside of the 49 machine. That's Duncan Keith going a lap down. We saw him getting nicely out of the way of the leaders earlier on. Now continuing to do the same for some of the drivers running further back inside the top 10. Their battles are equally important, so it's therefore also equally important that the back markers leave them some room. And then here, further back, we've got the recovering Sean Peters, who I think has just been lapped by another car there coming through. Sean Peters in the orange car, who I'm now further inclined to believe was indeed the spinner down at Vale, because that car fits the description, doesn't it, of an orange SR3 RSX, and he has now been moved from the gravel track down at Vale. Meanwhile, up towards the sharp end of the field again, we've still got this battle going on. This is Phil Cooper now in 2nd position, having to defend from Chris Preen. So Chris Preen has really been able to catch Phil Cooper quickly, and this is for 2nd place overall, and 2nd place within Class B as well. And Chris Preen, I thought, was going to have a look at the inside into the link. We are on the final lap of the race, though, so he's running out of time. Took a wide line into the link, tries to carry some speed off the corner, which he does, and Phil Cooper, for the first time all race, is really having to defend heavily. Goes to the inside line, down the straight. Richard Stables is also closing in, of course, on the pair of them as they go up towards the right-hander at Stowe. Phil Cooper on the outside, Chris Preen looking to the inside, but Cooper it is who's able to get over to the apex first and hang on to the position. There is one more real overtaking opportunity to go, but out of the final corner already is our race winner. Joe Stables will come through to take his 5th race victory of the season, his 6th class win from 6th, and Chris Preen gets past Phil Cooper at the very last corner, and so too does Richard Stables. So drama further back. Chris Preen moves into 2nd, Richard Stables goes 3rd, and Phil Cooper drops down to 4th right at the death, and he will be mightily frustrated with that, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Well, to add to Phil Cooper's frustration, he was indeed given a post-race disqualification for overtaking under the yellow flag, so the order is Stables from Preen, with Richard Stables winning in Class B in 3rd place overall ahead of Lee Torrey and Doug Carter. Our retirements from that race, we lost to David Palmer and Andy Chittenden. Of course, Sean Peters was delayed but did get to the finish, but the big news really was the disqualification for Phil Cooper for overtaking under the yellow flags, and he will therefore not score any points at all from that race.
Well, Joe, masterclass driver again, congratulations. 5th on the bounce, all to play for in a championship as well.
Thank you. I'd firstly like to thank my dad and my family for supporting me. Couldn't have been here without them. Really helped a lot towards making this victory possible. Brilliant.
And it took us through the race. The concentration that you must have in this heat as well around Silverstone must be immense.
Yeah, I mean, at the start, Lee got a good start, got past me. I just stuck with him, kept in the slipstream, eventually worked my way past him and just all enrolled from there. Just a quick drive.
2 more races to go. Can we see more wins?
Yeah, I should definitely think so.
Well, for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, Chris, firstly, congratulations. It's your 1st podium of the year. Still 3rd in the championship, but you've got to be happy with 2nd.
Yeah, very happy with that. I wasn't quite expecting that from today, but it was a good race. Had a good battle with Phil Cooper and sat behind Lee Torrey for a bit, but he made a bit of a mistake behind one of the back markers at Abbey, and which allowed me through into 3rd, and then I managed to get Phil on the last corner of the last lap.
It's a power circuit around here. On average, these radicals go about 200 brake horsepower. They're very quick. There's over 20 of them on a track. You've got to keep your wits about you all the time.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. It's working the aero and making the aero work and getting on the brakes at the right time and getting on the gas at the right time. Because if they catch you out, they can put you in a spin.
And you've got a taste of being on the podium now. Is there more to come?
Hopefully, yeah. I think it's forecast wet for tomorrow. So I like the wet conditions, so fingers crossed. 2 more races tomorrow, and if it's wet, look to progress from currently 4th on the grid from qualifying.
Well, good luck for tomorrow. Congratulations for today. Go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you. Just want to say a quick thanks to Tim Gray Motorsport for preparing such a great car.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard, firstly, congratulations. You've got to be proud of yourself and also your son Joe.
Yeah, I mean, Joe drives superbly. He's absolute masterclass in a radical car. I've been driving for 10, 11 years and he's just way quicker. He's quicker in anything. But yeah, I've enjoyed this morning. We were up till 1:30 mending the car. We had an issue with my car last night and worked nearly all through the night and then up early again this morning to get the tyres changed from the wets yesterday. So yeah, I was pleased to get a good result this morning. I was fairly worn out, so I'm ready for sleep now.
Bit of an incident with Lee Torrey, wasn't there, which gave you the lead?
Yeah, Lee came across a back marker and he obviously went the wrong way and had to take avoiding action and spun off the circuit. So I thought with 5 minutes to go, he's not going to catch me.
Well, you've got to be there to pick up the pieces, haven't you? So,
Well, you have, yeah.
for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you very much.